Hi folks, welcome back to our series on the explanation and instructional videos for the TPMS Australia multi-tow unit. We're going to show you how to reprogram your standard pressure settings in the unit and to add trailer positions. What we'll do first though is, I was alluding to earlier that we recommend you use a good quality alkaline battery. Reason for that is, as you see, the display screen at the moment has no LCD readout at all, even though it's turned on. Now what happens is there is a motion detector inside that monitor unit, and after 10 minutes of sensing no vibration it will go to sleep and turn the LCD display off to save battery power. All you have to do to turn it back on is essentially get in the car and shut the door. So if we do something like this, you'll see that it comes back to life. Now it's immediately picked up all four positions and is scrolling through them as per normal. Now if we left that for another 10 minutes, we won't bore you by doing that, you'd see that with no vibration it would actually turn itself off again. So it comes back on, the backlight comes on as per normal when it powers back up. Scroll through the positions that are available. If there was anything wrong it would immediately alert you to that and stay on that position. So what we'll do now is we'll show you the function of how to change the standard pressure. Now on the front of the unit, and this is fundamental for virtually anything to do with the transmitter and monitor functions, is on the left hand side you'll see an S button, on the right hand side there's an E button. Now those two buttons control obviously all the functions on the transmitter. They have two very specific uses. Also there's two very specific instructions in the user manual. One is for a press, which is a quick tap, and one is for a hold, which is holding the button down. Now they do two very very different things. Okay, holding the E button down, for example, will change into the menu screen. Okay, now we've gone into menu 1. There's 7 menus on the monitor, 7 different functions. Pressing the S button, and that's what we'll do. We'll use that as our baseline. So a press or a hold. If we press the S button repeatedly, you see that changes through the 7 different menus. Just rotates around continuously. So as you'll see in your user manual, menu 2 is for the standard pressure settings. Now we'll press the E button and you'll see it's now in the front left position with an SP there. The SP is for standard pressure and 32 psi. Now what that's saying is that the preset standard pressure by the unit's knowledge is 32 pounds per square inch. Okay, now we can use the S button, so we'll press that repeatedly to scroll through the positions, and that'll show you that each of the positions that are on this screen are preset at 32 psi. As we said earlier, that's the factory preset. Now the reason why it's showing the extra 3 positions on the screen, so we've got front left, front right, rear left, we've got rear left, yes, rear inner left, and we've got rear inner right, and then we've got a rear right and a spare. Now the 2 inner positions and the spare can be programmed if the extra transmitters are purchased, if you needed them, if you had, for example, a single axle dual wheel rear, or if you wanted to add a spare on at a later stage. So we'll go back to the front left on that. Okay, now to change the standard pressure setting, we hold down the E button and you'll see the 0 start to flash. Okay, pressing the S button quickly will change the values. And of course it won't go any higher than 100, so leave it there. So we've got a 0 flashing there, we don't need to change that. We'll press the E button quickly again and the 3 will start to flash. So say we wanted to change it to 40 psi. So now that we're on the 3, we'll press the S button. Now that will just repeatedly scroll through the numbers. Okay, so we'll leave that at 40. We'll press the E button again. The 2 will start to flash. We'll repeatedly press the S button and we'll scroll that back to 0. So now we've got 040, okay, with the last number flashing. What we do now is we hold the E button down and you hear a double beep. See that there's no flashing lights anymore. Now that has set the standard pressure on that position at 40 psi. Now all positions that are on this unit are individual. So if we press the S button again and scroll through the positions, you'll see the rest is still 32 psi, but the front left goes back to 40. Okay, so we'll change that front left back to 32 so that you can see the process again. Okay, so we'll hold the E button down, the 0 will start to flash. Okay, we'll press the E button again to move it across to the 4. We'll press the S button to change that back to 3. Okay, we'll press the E button to move that across to the next flashing number, which is 1. Press the S button to get that to 2. So we're happy with 32. Then we'll hold the E button down and double beep, and 32 is locked back in again. Okay, now all we do is we do that for any number of positions that we like. Okay, so we can change those all individually. The advantage of that is that for people who are running 4-wheel drives or camper caravans or whatever sort of application you like, what this allows you to do is this allows you to set a separate pressure for the front axle, separate pressures for the rear axle, and then, as we'll show you later with the caravan axles, separate pressures again for there. So, for example, you might want to run 35 in the front, 40 in the rears, and say, 35, 36 in your caravan wheels. You can run a different pressure theoretically on every position. All right, so that's how we do that. Now, to get back out of that menu into the main screen, all right, we'll hold the S button down. That'll take us back to the menus. Now, holding the S button down will always get you out of whatever menu you were in. Okay, and we'll hold the S button down again, and we're back to our standard screen. Okay, now, even though we've got 32 psi as our standard pressure, the screen you can see is rolling around 34, 35s. Okay, there is no alert because that's within the acceptable boundaries of what the unit sees as a standard pressure operating range. Now, at this stage, what we'll do is we'll just tell you that the high pressure warning is 25% above your standard pressure. So 32 psi, right, you would have to get 25% above 32 psi for it to issue a high pressure alert. For your low pressure alerts, you are at 32 psi. Your first alert is 12.5% below 32 psi. Your second alert is 25% below, and your third alert is 50% below. So you have 3 chances for the unit to tell you that something is going wrong. It also features a fast leak alert, so if you lose more than 3 psi in 12 seconds, it'll issue a fast leak alert to let you know that something is detrimentally wrong, and we recommend that you stop immediately and just check the tyre for what's gone wrong. So that explains that function. In the next one, we'll show you how to add the trailer positions and set the ID codes for those.